How is it going, everyone? Happy final Friday. Game of Thrones is almost here, and I can't wait. I don't know about you. Welcome to Nooners of Ice and Fire. Today, we will be talking about prophecy, how it plays in. How will the Night King be defeated? What has led all these people together for good or for bad? What is everyone's motivations from Rhaegar? Basically, starting the war and starting it all with his fascination with prophecy. Today, we have a fantastic panel. As always, ladies first, MackenzieLBurns, my resident co host, is here with me today. How are you doing, Mackenzie?
I'm doing very well. This is my last Friday of the semester in school, so woohoo! But yeah, excited to talk about this on our final Friday before Sunday night. 2 days, people, 2 days before Sunday comes back. Just so excited to talk about this and the prophecies that may be very influential in the last season.
It's going to be a very interesting take a shot live stream because we have many and more things to talk about. And the genius, my friend Justin Thomas, helped me think of this for sure. How is it going, man? Is your head big enough yet?
Yeah, no, thank you for acknowledging I'm a genius. Yes, no, I'm excited. I'm really excited for this final season, and I am hedging expectations, and I'm remembering this. It's gonna be ambiguous, just ambiguous. I'm keeping that in mind for the way this pans out, and I think that I got a little bit of faith in Dan and Dave this time around, and I've been studying the screen adaptation, and for what they've had to work with, they've done better than we give them credit for. So let's go into this positively. That's different coming from me, eh?
Yeah, I mean, you said before the stream that they have really brought things, they've culminated things well. Everybody is in place. It is set up fantastically. Really quick, let me give a shout out to the chat. Bubba Husky, what's going on? Jordy Jedi, Living My Rhapsody, the Imagination Realm. We will have a break midstream to talk about the Imagination Realm, so stay tuned for that. Storm Still, what is going on? Peter Griffin, Anime Lover Nicole, Katrin C, Danny McKay, Dark Mother, how are you? Zeta Alpha, Living on a Prayer, Amberlyn, Marie, how are you doing today? I hope everybody's having a fantastic time. Fake Aria, what is up, my friend? And oh yeah, we have Phantom Desanct in the chat as well. And I think that's it for now. So I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. I did see Riso in the chat as well. So if I forgot anybody, let me know. This kind of started all with Rhaegar's prophecy and him ending up taking Lyanna Stark and starting the War of Five Kings, ultimately having Jon Snow, who in the show is Aegon Targaryen. His song is the Song of Ice and Fire, or maybe. Um, we have a lot of Azor Ahai type characters. Kenzie, would you like to start us off with a prophecy? Maybe we can even go to Danny, whichever you would want to do.
I guess because we started with, you started off with Rhaegar, we can kind of start off with the prince that was promised theory, and because it was kind of brought to kind of the book verse by Rhaegar, and it kind of bleeds in literally to the thought about the red comet. But basically, the prince that wasn't promised boils down to a prophesied leader or savior, a prince that is part of the ancient prophecy which foretells the coming of a hero to deliver the world from darkness. A bleeding star is supposed to herald the coming of the prince. The prince is said to be a song, the Song of Ice and Fire. So, we can kind of talk about both the bleeding comet and the prince who was supposed to be, and this was, I believe, found by Rhaegar in a few different scrolls, and he felt that it was someone from his family or his line that would be named said prince, first thinking that it was his son with Elia Martell, but then he needed 3 heads of the dragon, and thus creating his infatuation with Lyanna Stark.
So in the show, it's hard to know if we can still go with the three heads of the dragon, but we can all agree that Rhaegar started all of this off, and the ramifications are still being felt to this day. Uh, it seemed to have died down after Robert's rebellion, and then rose back up with the rising of the bleeding star, which is another prophecy that you spoke of. Justin, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, whether it's Rhaegar or Melisandre, Melisandre, Missandei, maybe could have some prophecies. It really doesn't matter to me, to be honest. It's just prophecy, and we have to see how this affects, everybody, and what the what the ramifications of this type of behavior are in this world. We have Rhaegar that has some foresight, right? He sees the bigger picture. That's great. But what does he do? In order to fulfill this prophetic, structure, he has to go and do all these things that cause a rebellion, all these things that cause mass amounts of death and destruction, pain, and poverty amongst the people. Like, in order to save the people, he's going through step by step, trying to check all the boxes so he can, create the person to save the world that he's destroying during the process of trying to prepare for this bigger threat. So it's a just the way in which prophecy is used in A Song of Ice and Fire is always people are looking for a reason to believe. They're looking for a reason to find meaning in their own lives and looking to do good. And they're trying to have this hero come, or this, fulfill this prophecy, because it always ends with a hero defeating something evil, right? But the ramifications of that, and the pros and cons, we've seen quite clearly with Stannis in the show, a little bit too bluntly, in my opinion, but how this can turn out to be not a good thing, obviously. So I just think it's the George really wants to inject how dangerous it can be to have this like blind faith in these legends, tales, whether or not it's occult, spiritual, or religious. It doesn't matter. What people do and why they're doing it, what's driving them, and what's it all mean in the end? Meaning, like, okay, are they going to really have Azor Ahai come down and save everybody? And would we be in this situation if somebody wasn't so obsessed with fulfilling this prophecy to save the world? It's not all that great to really try to check all those boxes that these prophecies have to make them come true. But yeah, Rhaegar had the bigger picture, right? He just went about it in a way that didn't really have any, at least short-term, good come out of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it seems we have either people believe in prophecy or they don't. Jon seems to be opposed to prophecy in a sense, whereas Dany embraces it. And you could argue, well, I wouldn't even argue, I would say for sure this is a culmination of, I guess you could say, magic or fate, but it seems like more of a self-fulfilling prophecy to me. You know your future and you're going to drive yourself, it's subconsciously going to drive you, and you're going to do things to make this happen. We see this with Cersei. We even see it with Dany to an extent, and we'll kind of start there because where they end up is the key. And I think, that's the point of all this. And it's going to be interesting to see where the believers stand and basically the non-believers stand at the end, which one's going to come out better. I'd say being a fanatic of anything isn't good. But with Dany, she has to burn Miri Mazdur. And Sasa, I know you have that prophecy on lock. Let's get into Dany.
So, there is the Dany prophecy where, hold on, let me pull it up. There's so many tabs open. So with Dany, there is a few different ones that kind of touch on her. Pretty much a lot of them do. And one obviously being basically that when the sun rises in the west, and it's when she's talking about Drogo coming back to her, it's like when the sun rises in the west and the sets in the east, when the mountains, if I can, where is it? When the mountains blow dry, or when the seas go dry and the mountains blow in the wind like leaves, he will return to you. And like something like how it pretty much that Drogo, in a long sense, will never, quote unquote, return to her, and also that her womb will quicken again and she will bear a living child. But
Mackenzie, you could argue, right, that this pushed Dany to do what she did. The thought of her not having children, she could put that aside. She seemingly has put that aside to attain her goal, and I think that's really key. And how much do you think Mir Mazdur was telling the truth, or was she hiding it in a riddle to perhaps just mess with Dany, just to screw with her head?
It could be a riddle, but through different sources that kind of just quickly like glance at, there are ways that this could kind of make sense. Well, there's obviously book characters like Quentin Martell, who traveled from Dorne to Essos, and he rose in the west and died in the east. The Dothraki Sea kind of drying up because of drought. To like Dany's children kind of burning the Marinese pyramids that could be seen as mountains, as well as this doesn't happen in the show, but happened in the books, how it's suspected that she may have her first period or a miscarriage in some sort of sense, to then also be kind of caught with a whole bunch of Dothraki that was kind of exemplified in the show. It may not be Drogo himself exactly, but it's his people showing up and returning to her in a sense, and kind of enveloping that way. Because because you can obviously bring a body back.
Well, in the show, they go a different route, and seemingly here, right, they may even disregard this prophecy. Justin, do you think that Dany is pregnant? And what has this prophecy, what role has this prophecy played, in your opinion, up to this point for Dany?
In the series, in the television series, not much at all. Mostly it's just being told that she could not have children is affecting her, in my opinion. And really what we're seeing is, again, Dany is been reminded by Melisandre in last season 7, about or told for the first time about prophecy. So like she goes about from literally one line before that, she's talking about how she has brought herself from rags to this situation. She's risen through merit. She's done the work. And this is when Varys is having that conversation with her, because everybody's finally getting to follow somebody that they want to follow, and it's their choice. Everybody has all the restraints in season 7 taken off, for better or worse, and they're able to do what they've been saying they want to do, play the game how they want to play the game. Dany, I think, in the series is affected by prophecy very really not at all, in my opinion, other than the idea that the witch has told her that she cannot have children. In the books, yes, I would have a totally different take on this, but in the series, I think that it's just an idea that she is fated for something. But I think it's more of a belief in herself. I think that prophecy is more present with, Jon and people like Beric and so forth. I would say that, this is really only applicable to the books in the big picture. If that, I mean, you can argue it as much as you want, or, I'm not saying I'm absolutely correct, but I just saying it's not present in the series whatsoever.
I agree with you. I feel like she did.
Thank you for us.
Yeah, he could focus on his goals, and this is the only thing that plays into.
Johnny's freezing up. Can you hear me, Mackenzie?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Aspect is good, but I know you disagree. Did I freeze?
Yeah, you did. You froze a little bit, but
I think the only thing I'd want to say on it is that, everybody talks about A Song of Ice and Fire subverting the trope of heroes, and just good people with good intentions, guaranteeing good results, right? Just because a good man becomes king with good intentions doesn't mean he's going to have a good realm and so forth. But, these prophecies all revolve around the same idea of having some, some Deus Ex Machina, God, come down, essentially in the form of whoever has fulfilled it, and saved the day. So in a story that doesn't embrace your conventional constructs of a hero, the archetype of the hero, it's very unlikely that we're going to see any of that happen in the show. I think it's more of an idea of what people do with these belief systems and how do you really become somebody that does good? Because again, Rhaegar turned the country into ashes for what other people see in the flames. With a flame that's lit with good intent or not, still ends in ash, and nobody wants to be queen of the ashes per se. If anybody in the chat is wondering what I'm getting, my main thesis on the final season is prophecy will not be fulfilled. You will not have a matter-of-fact answer to who is Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised. A lot of theories I see from content creators that I love, that I'm friends with, are, speaking to the fact that we will get something like, oh, and this is what is going to result in Azor Ahai, and I find that to be very odd that people, I put this out on Twitter in a poll, that people find this to be something that could happen in this story when it's essentially a story that's for warning and showing the dangers of this type of belief. It's almost like we're all looking into the flames and being like, well, who's going to come down and save us? We've all seen, that heroes get stabbed for doing heroic shit. They get resurrected as well. And, that the best intentions don't always lead to good results, and they hardly ever do. Dany in Slaver's Bay gets rid of slavery. It's not just all peaches and cream after that. And then, you got to deal with the results. So it's just an idea of, at the end of this story, it's going to result in something that the story has had for the whole entirety of the arcs, pretty much forewarning about going up about your life and the way you handle power in this prophetic way, and thinking that you can become a god or the gods have fated you. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you guys agree that it's kind of odd to attribute the resolution of this story in that manner. It seems very counterproductive and would seem to be very out of place.
Yeah, like the whole thing with the prophecy with Dany not being able to have children, she's kind of said this a few times about having children's, well, she had like the children's bones dropping at her feet, her own child, and then the child of Farmer in season 5 doing the same thing. So it's, I don't think she would, like, if she was to have a child, I don't know if it's like that whole thing with like the Targaryen thing of them having like the being twisted and all of the stuff like we've learned in Fire and Blood, because it doesn't seem entirely believable that there would be something without any complications. At least they would maybe do it for the show, but not necessarily for, oh, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but it's just maybe like the whole, like we're saying, she may be just literally a mother of dragons, and that her children may not necessarily be all human or all dragon.
I mean, if anyone fits the Azor Ahai prophecy literally, which no one really does, and we know prophecy never unfolds literally. I haven't seen it. It always happens metaphorically. That's why I don't think we're going to see the physical Lightbringer. It may be a person. It may be Drogon in a sense, but I feel like more than one person is Azor Ahai. They are going to come together. I think it, kind of melds in with the West and East legend. You have the last hero and his 12 companions. You have Azor Ahai coming out of a Shire. And I think they're kind of the same, more of an amalgamation of people. So that's a good point. I feel like the only thing that Dany will be affected by prophecy in the sense that Melisandre is going to force this on her, not necessarily make her believe what she wants her to believe, but Mel is going to try to do something to use Dany's dragons, to use that fire magic. That power is too strong for Mel not to try to take advantage of.
Yeah, and she made a big point of coming there last season just to say, hey, guess what? Did you hear about this prophecy? And then Dany's Valyrian wasn't so good for 1 minute. So Missandei could tell her that it was, not gender, that it could be prince or princess. So yeah, it's just another idea of all these things can be applicable to a lot of our different characters. And like you said, everybody's going to come together and create Azor Ahai, meaning because we have to think, what is Azor Ahai? The solution to the problem. So I guess we do have to address what is the problem, the Night King, meaning yeah, we know he's marching, but why are they marching and what are they marching for? I don't know if you want to get into that in a little bit or not, but the point is they're going to solve the problem, and we'll probably see something play out that is going to really be applicable to a prophecy like, the prince that was promised. And you'll see how this goes throughout history of people telling tales. We'll see how these prophecies live on because people attribute these actions after the fact to these vague prophecies that have, again, you're checking boxes that are very vague. I mean, the sun sets in the east and what, you know what I mean? It's like Nostradamus. You can really work, you got to workshop it, but it'll work, right? In all reality, people needed to get together and do the greater good, not wait for somebody to check all those boxes and then be the hero. You need to be a good person and do what's right. And now we have a lot of people that finally have, again, they want power, right? And now the Iron Throne is kind of like put to the side until the Night King is taken care of. However that plays out is not really relevant at the point. It's what I'm getting at is all these people that say they want to rule are proving that they're capable of ruling by turning down the pomp, the actual title of the Iron Throne. Cersei still has it, and she's not doing anything for the people, but Dany's saving the people, so she's not Queen of the Ashes. So they're doing the actions that are necessary to preserve the better, good in the nation. Whether or not, the sun set in the east or west, I guess, they'll attribute it to that. But I think that's counterproductive is what George gets at, is that's not the best way to think. You should be looking at what these people did and what they sacrificed, not, oh, they did this and then, gods came in and intervened and gave them the power. It's like, no, they got the power. They found it within themselves. They are the strength, so it's just odd to me that we deduct this to a conclusion of a prophecy being fulfilled. It's like, oh, Game of Thrones doesn't have its, typical archetype hero. And then it's like, but we're going to get the prince that's promised. I'm like, what the hell is that? That's way more high fantasy than even Lord of the Rings people. I don't know. It's crazy to me. But it's interesting as well, because it's just people want these prophecies to be right. Even us as viewers, we want to see it fulfilled, right?
Yeah. To your point, everything leads them to the long night. That's all, in a sense, refers back to the long night. Even Cersei's prophecy, you could say, is hindering her and definitely affects the end game here. And I guess we'll talk about Cersei first, and then we'll get into everything with the Night King. With her, she's stuck blinded. She doesn't even necessarily care about the whites, so to speak, or she thinks they will be taken care of, or that she's going to be safe. She's lost everything she's known, and this is a prophecy that she heard as a child. Wasn't she 12 years old, Salsa? And shout out to Imagination Realm. This is her favorite prophecy. And Maggie the Frog basically told her she would have three children. Their gold would be their crowns, and Robert Baratheon would have many bastards. I think the number's a little different from show to book. With that, with each shroud, she keeps getting affected to where she's only fighting prophecy now. That's all she's doing, is trying to beat her fate. And I have a video coming out on it tomorrow, so I'll let y'all discuss it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Mackenzie.
No, it's just the fact that, yeah, she was told three things or multiple things, but three main prophecies, in that essentially two of them have kind of come to her, like, not thought process, but like her mind, like the younger, more beautiful queen thing. She thinks at first it's Santa, and then quickly it changes to Marjorie, and she thinks it's Marjorie for a long time, and then she thinks she can take her out by killing off of Marjorie in season 6, and then now it's overtly seen as Daenerys, but then there's also the potential for, because Sansa herself is rising back up into power, so there's that whole thing, and she's afraid of not just one of them, but she's afraid of the two of them, because she's like, well, I can go kill Daenerys if things go wrong, and I can always there's still a bounty out for Sansa, so there's that. And then along with the three kids, like, she gets to the point with almost Tommen, and she's just like, when's his time up, like looking at her watch, thinking about how much time he has left, and it's almost when the explosion happens and it's just like, well, it's just time to go now at this point. But yeah, the Valonqar prophecy, it's either little brother or little one. It's always that gendered statement that we always mix up, because some people say it's little brother, others say little sibling, so it's hard to see exactly.
Yeah, I think that the Valonqar is a great example for show only, especially in the books. It's really good as well. But yeah, it's very clear in the show. I think that, you know, really the best examples of people that, well, recently the Hound, which I'd like to speak about in a moment, about how he did see visions in the fire, because it is important to, you know, take note that people do see things and the gods do things. George has mentioned that he will never have gods show themselves. They will never show up in any of his stories. But George is, you know, in a lot of times, again, it's like the biographical fallacy and all that. But the way I look at, you know, storytelling is I look at the author's influences and the author's own beliefs. George has spoken very publicly on a lot of different stages, even 4 months ago, about the decision making behind the Faith of the Seven and all that. George is agnostic. So George is, you know, of the belief of he doesn't really know what's happening, but he recognizes there's things that he doesn't understand. So I'm not saying that gods don't, or there aren't possibly gods. There's definitely things at work, right? John's getting resurrected, things are happening. So people that like Cersei that are worried about this Valonqar, you know, she has, it's not like it's totally unprecedented. It's a little bit, you know, crazy the way she goes about it, but you know, there, it's not like the gods aren't showing themselves to a large extent in some cases. So we have just the idea of we're looking to explain the unexplainable, and we're looking to make sense out of that. And whether or not you're fated for, you know, great things or demise, it's very harmful to have that idea that you are plagued by, you know, somebody else's predestination and so forth. But Cersei, yes, like Mackenzie said, you know, she is trying to just so much to protect and hold on to her children. It's like she doesn't care what, it's like you want to keep some objects, so you're just going to put them in a sack and just make sure they're always by you and beat them around, essentially. Not the greatest metaphor, but it's just keeping the kids, right? By any means. Like, it's like, okay, Joffrey's a monster, doesn't matter, you know, like I just want to make sure my kids stay alive. Like, but you know, I'm gonna go ahead and blow up the sept and all that. It's like she's not really she's just keeping them alive. She's not living with them, in a sense. We see that with Tom, and he needed her, and she's drinking wine, which I get. I don't have kids and I don't want them, but you know what I mean? She's dismissing the children in really essentially, well, she's just trying to just hold on to them. It's the idea of not really embracing living with them. It's just, I don't want to lose them. But she's set herself up with a series of actions that are just very short-term thinking. But yeah, I think it's a really good example of prophecy in the show. And I think that it's very likely that we will see something play out where it could be Sandor, or it could even be Tyrion, or it doesn't. Yes, we could see it fulfilled, because again, these are all boxes that aren't that hard to check. Because like you said, everything's it's got that right amount of vagueness, right? And it's an idea of people trying to explain things away because we want something easy, right? It's great if we think we can just get a hero to fix everything. So
yeah. Miss Chrono has a question about Cersei, if you'd like to answer, Sasa, or both of you. Will Cersei do any good or be forgiven in season 8, or will she die as the Mad Queen? And I do have a tenfold theory that she could possibly, if she really is pregnant, Jon may send her into exile. You know, Fandom de Saint will be really super duper happy if that happens, but that's a super tenfold.
She could probably play off herself as doing some good, especially when the people start realizing that the only place with any food of substantial amount is the North. So it's them be like, yeah, everybody down here, the one person I told you about has come and burnt all your food. So like, unless between the time of the Field of Fire 2.0 and the end of season 7, when the snow starts to fall, a whole bunch of food just sprouted out of nowhere. Could just assume that, yeah, the enemy is coming back, and she has dragons and she's burnt all the food. So there could be something where maybe with the Golden Company they bring food from Essos. I don't know how long that would last, but something like that. I don't know, but I could totally see, though, if they're really making Dany the one true hero or the good queen, that they would just make her the mad one, just to kind of have that balance out. But I don't think so.
Well, you could argue, I guess, that Cersei would have the love of the common folk, especially after the Field of Fire 2.0. Justin?
You could also say
Yeah,
that.
I mean, go ahead.
Oh, it's like she could also just say that the Sept of Baelor thing was just an accident that happened. It was just like something that exploded underneath the Sept, and it was not just strategically there, just the timer that went off, like that kind of stuff. Like play it off of that she didn't do it really, but I'll shut up.
It's like the Unabomber not showing up for his court and bombing. You know, the court gets bombed. Yeah, I mean, again, I was just talking about this before we went on air. So many great things happened last season. We get to see the game played at a very high level by a large amount of people that have been, you know, like held back or throttled, at least in their own minds, or some of them had been, you know, finally given an opportunity to show themselves. How they got there was really leave a lot to be desired. The loot train and all that, they essentially robbed the Reach, right? They robbed the Reach because they don't have the troops to hold it. He even says this when Bran says, "I'll take that." He goes, "You know, she could come and take that the next day from you, Dany." So, you know, we'll wait because they can't. So they're taking the grain and they're taking the money to go pay for a foreign sellsword company, which is essentially, one of the big themes in this story is why do people fight for, leaders that don't have their best interests in mind? Cersei is running out of people that are believing, you know, she has their interests in mind, and she definitely doesn't seem to whatsoever. Her following and support by the small folk, not the mention feudal succession, the laws of feudal succession just went out the window of time, and like I said, but I find it hard to believe. But as far as redemption goes for her, I would say that probably not. The book is a little bit better for that, but I don't really blame them. It's kind of hard to really, you know, do that in the series. The Walk of Atonement is what it is, but Cersei has kind of had to embrace more of just a more one-dimensional archetype. But I do make the argument, and I want to know what you guys think about this, that I would say Cersei is likely to survive to the end, and so is Jaime rather than Tyrion, because when you want to have interesting in great storytelling, you want to put people in the most complicated and a situation where there's the most conflict. So what would be the most conflict for Jaime? To survive the battle against the Night King and have to go back against Cersei and have them both be there and facing off against each other. That is intriguing to me. So if I was writing this, I would make sure that Jaime does make it through the battle with the Night King, the White Walkers, however that plays out, and he is faced with Cersei. Having Cersei staying in the picture is far more intriguing, because if you don't have her around, then really, what is the last 2 episodes for? You know, where are you actually going to have your conflict and your arc as far as that goes after the Night King? So I really think that, yeah, probably not redemption, but we're going to see her fall from power, and we're going to see, how they choose to treat her when she has chosen not to show anybody mercy.
Yeah, Lena Headey, she's staying until the last episode. Most people think, oh, she's going to die before the last episode. No. Lena's like, she's like, what, the second or third highest paid actor on the show? So it's like, yeah, she's gonna stay until the very last episode. We need her ominous big bad, but then we also need the big bad that's just a human and big bad. And it's not Euron, because Euron's not as big of a force, and it just has to be Cersei, and they have to go again and basically plead to her again, I guess, that they have to do something, or they have to kill her off. It's, yeah. People are like, oh, she's gonna die before the last episode. No, she needs to be there for the very last episode. She'll probably be there until like at least, bold prediction is like when there's like a half an hour left of the show, she'll still be alive.
Well, they want to make you pull your hair out before she dies, right? They want to like really string that out good, I think. I could agree with you on that for sure. With that, I'll kind of segue to Beric Dondarrion, and the Red God has seemingly been inspired by prophecy more than any other god in this whole series, especially in this show. And this has driven Beric far and wide. He has died 6 times now, I don't think he's going to come back on the 7th, and that's pretty purposeful if you read the books. And he may give his life, but his journey has led him to pull the Hound into the fold. The Hound is seeing in the flames now. He may even be a follower of R'hllor in the end. It begs the question whether he's seen Clegane Bowl in the flames, which that could be just me fanning out a little bit. But he was saved by Thoros of Myr, and I think it's for a reason. But the Night King, that is the real enemy here. Death, the great other. Justin, I know you got some good shit on this.
Beric Dondarrion is is the best example of exactly what my thesis is on how this will be handled as far as prophecy goes. Everybody wants to know why he's been brought back, right? Everybody wants to know. Sandor says, why did he bring back a whatever, probably a piece of shit, and this is paraphrasing here, like you so many times. Want to know why? Because the gods, yes, something higher that we don't understand, something that's not of this world that we're witnessing is happening. But the rhyme or reason is never going to be clear, because as soon as you explain magic, it becomes science. And there's a big difference, and you do see a little bit of that and that's what's great about it with the DNA, with Targaryens and all that. George does have that aspect in, but you're not going to have that come into R'hllor. Now, Beric Dondarrion has been brought back more times, 6 times, correct? So it's like, what is his purpose? Well, that I think is the purpose. His purpose is to show you how random this can be. That maybe it's just first off, it's a plot device in order to show that resurrection happens as far as the television series goes. So we know Jon can come back if you're just a show watcher, but also to show that this guy that literally is not meaning his life doesn't mean anything, but big picture wise, he's not there to defeat the Night King. He's not there to do anything more than to show you how abstract this can be, how, just random this can be. We don't know. George is of the mind of things happen that we don't understand. That means we're not going to understand why he was brought back. It's in my opinion, the embodiment of what prophecy is in how the gods work. We're never going to have a great grasp on that. So I feel that we're definitely going to see him not make it throughout the whole series, but the kiss of death or kiss of life, not kiss of death. They haven't really set that up in the show to happen. So I don't think we'll see that. No Lady Stoneheart. And they pretty much have established that since Thoros is gone, that he is shit out of luck if he dies again. I believe there was a line of dialogue. So I think that it's been set up that he is now without, his Red Priest. So, and again, why do the Red Priests, why are they able to do this? Why are they able to resurrect? They don't understand the words they're even saying. He just said the words because he wanted it. That's the general idea. It's the idea of you want things to happen. You want, it's the adage that I use is when you're playing poker, you can put as much money in the pot as you want. It doesn't make your 2-7 offsuit any better. You still got shit cards. You can't just want, because more's at stake, something to be true. Because there's more of a, actual thread or more on the line. It doesn't make what you want to believe any more true. So, again, they pray because they wanted Jon to come back and he wanted his friend to come back, Thoros with Beric. That's it. They don't understand the words they're even saying. They're just willing it to happen. And for some reason it happens. So it's ambiguous. And that's the best way to leave these things.
Yeah, with the Hound, there's most probably because he did go on a religious sort of journey in season 6 for most of season 6 and we didn't see it. So the fact that he's kind of been not recruited but sort of recruited by Thoros in the first episode to just look into the flames and like try to figure out what he sees. There's something to that, because maybe the show kind of needs an extra follower of R'hllor that's not just Melisandre and Beric. Now that Thoros has died, like they need an extra perspective on that.
Look at where Sandor's at. I love what you said about that. Look at where Sandor's at, where he sees in the flames. He is back at the house again, not set up in the best way, where he is the reason that Barrick, when he's doing his NCIS analysis of why those people aren't alive, he's like, they died horribly. They were starving and they stabbed each other. I'm like, Jesus, man, how do you know all that? It's like, dun, 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 Law and Order. But yeah, you see, Sandor is in a position where he is trying to make sense of his life. He's both a victim of violence and a perpetrator of violence. He is at a point where he wants to believe in something. This is, generally throughout time, and it doesn't give credence to a belief, and it doesn't take away from the belief either. But people that are desperate for answers, people that are in times of great trauma and just stress, they look for answers. And sometimes, in this series, they're looking for answers in the religion that looks into the flames. So I believe that the Lord of Light made something happen. It doesn't seem like Barrick is doing the charlatan tricks like Melisandre has talked about she can do with the flames. I think that he believes he saw something. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But again, like you said, he's at a point in his life where he's looking for answers. So he just wants something to be true, right? Sandor at this point in his life more than ever wants reason for all the horrible things that he's done and that's happened to him. And it's it is what it is. It doesn't, again, take away from it or give it any validity either, though. It's just kind of, it makes sense. I kind of thought that was a nice touch, even though, again, I think they could have just went to anybody's house and it could have reminded him of that family. To stop at the one house that he did that was kind of odd. But yeah, no, sorry, I just want to jump in on that because I really, upon rewatch, I found that to be very enticing and an embodiment, again, of, like you said, other people need to follow the Lord of Light other than the people that maybe are going to be deemed the heroes. So you can see how it's, again, society, turning things into a story that's understandable throughout time, leading to prophecies. Do we need another Jon Snow? It's like, somebody have a bastard, start a civil war. Don't tell anybody. You know what I mean? Let's check all these boxes. Have him sent to the wall. Blah blah blah. Get him stabbed. Blah blah blah. Okay, this guy checks all the boxes. We made another Jon Snow.
The Lord of Light works in mysterious ways, man. Miss Cronall, yeah, that's a good point. Sandor's instinct after the Blackwater is to go north towards the cold. Loves the irony in that. I do as well. Justin, quick question. What do you think, besides Cersei, which that's pretty easy, who do you think is going to fall a victim to prophecy in season 8?
How so? Prophecy as far as falling to the
in a
folly
bad
of
way.
following it?
Yeah, to the folly.
Like how Stannis fell because of the decisions that they make because of it.
Yeah.
You want to be honest, other than Cersei, I can't really think of anybody in the series because I think that the rest of the people, Jon is at the point where it's like, and again, last season he does have some pretty compelling speeches. The love relationship and all that, maybe a little rush, but again, like him talking about making people believe in them because they did something they thought that was not possible. And just embodying that. And he doesn't even want to talk about it because he doesn't understand it, but there's power in that. So I think a lot of people are going to have prophecy adhered to their actions opposed to what we've seen. Cersei, though, yeah, I would say just Cersei will follow the prophecy. I do have some ideas if we want to get into it in a little bit about who will die first, because I think they're going to have some impactful deaths to show you that shit means, the shit's going down for real.
Ooh, we'll definitely get into that right after the break. But Sasa, what do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to say. But you could kind of think that it's not a prophecy necessarily, but you could say that in a sort of good way, that if Jon is supposed to be the one that was promised about, that he's going to ultimately become the reluctant hero that he's been kind of trying to run away from his entire life. Like, it's subverting that whole thing of don't want to be the one that's like, I'm the one who's reluctantly here to save you all, even though there was that whole thing about him wanting to just run away and not do anything after the wall. He's like, go south and do what? Just get warm. That was his whole MO after coming back. But it's it'll be something like that. It's like, not like Justin said, it's to be like placed on him, but it's kind of leaning that way of the Anyway, I know you want to talk about the imagination realm, so I'll shut up.
Well, it's just a quick break. I'll probably start doing these segments either Mondays or Fridays. These will be happening on Episode Club as well. Just a little news, but who will die first? We got our little prediction here. This is the Dragon Pool. So go check out imaginationrealm.com. We'll have Sasa throw the links in the chat right now. They're also in the descriptions. We're going to have some weekly news coming up. This week we have a few things, but everybody's ready for Game of Thrones. Matter of fact, it looks like the prequel will start filming as soon as season 8 is done airing, which is very good news. Everything here is from her website, and we'll go check that out really quick. Maybe, if I can find it, because I suck at this. Ha. Yep, I'm horrible.
No, it's fine.
At least you didn't leave up any bad tabs.
No bad tabs. I don't have my porn pulled up, but Johnny be busy. You'll see my list up here. There's many and more different shows. More will be added soon. So it's not just Game of Thrones news. It's other news as well. A fantastic blog. She has very intriguing thoughts. Also, we have the Imagination Realm store as well. But like I said, sign up for the Pool of Dragons. You pick your team, and then you pick who lives, who dies, who's going to be turned into a white, and also your Thrones fantasy. Go sign up for that on your mobile device. And let's see. Anyway,
I came across this yesterday for the first time, and I'm not aware. I'm not affiliated whatsoever, but I like it. I went to the website because I kept seeing them in one of our chat threads, and I really like the site.
Yeah, it's really good. And we'll, like I said, I'll be bringing you news reels from it. We'll be talking about some articles here and there. I'm not going to refurbish everything. I'll let you go here, but you can get email updates and everything. And it's really interactive. So I think you're going to love it. Go check it out and be looking out for weekly updates on this and the news on Game of Thrones and other shows. So thank you so much, Imagination Realm.
Yeah, there's also a Facebook group. It's kind of not saying like exactly like Geek Chat. It's much smaller, but it's her own Facebook group. It's you just talk about Game of Thrones news. I think it's all capital TI Realm, I believe. And yeah, it's like you get to do the same thing, talk about geeky stuff and kind of engage with her. And that's where a lot of her posts are posted, is in her Facebook group. It's very easy to join, and yeah, she's awesome. And yeah, we have there's a lot of good articles that she finds and posts about, so go check out the Imagination Realm. And I believe she's starting YouTube soon. So
that's what I was looking for when I saw the name. I was looking for that, but yeah, I couldn't imagine a better site. And I don't know these people. I just found out that it was a female, to be honest. So because I'm misogynistic, I thought it was a man. So,
yeah,
no,
you're
very good site.
It really is good. And you were wanting to talk really quick. We got a really good question I think I need to address. Tamara Magdalene says, I think Dany will be sacrificed. It's not a coincidence. She ate a heart, and she is fire, and the heart of fire is on the Lord of Light banner. I think that's a good point. Even though we do get into the high fantasy with that, but she could be sacrificed in a roundabout way, maybe not a ceremonial sacrifice, if that makes sense.
Is it really not coincidence, or is it just ironic? Because again, after the fact, you can adhere these things. I like it in the tie-ins, but again, now I'm just a firm believer in and I love the discussion. Again, it's just my belief that George wouldn't, but again, this is Dan and Dave, and let's give them a little bit of credit here. There is no source material, and I think it's important to embrace this as possibly the only ending we get to this story. Hopefully not, but A Song of Ice and Fire, the only thing that's guaranteed about it is the ending that we're getting in the next 6 episodes, for better or worse. Yeah, that's interesting. The one thing I've tried to really workshop the ending, this final season, as far as Jon and Dany goes, and man, I'm having trouble with deciding because I feel they both can't be around. And I'm just trying to workshop different ways that can work. I've taken note that they've said they wanted to do 3 separate movies, like a trilogy, which is a little bit interesting to me because I know the 3rd episode is the Battle of Winterfell. So that does really lend itself to the first movie, because I would say the first 2 episodes would be the first movie, and then 3 and 4, then 5 and 6. So your love story would have to carry the first movie. That's how they plotted this out. That's how they structured it at first. So that's kind of telling right there. And again, SaveTheCat.com. Look up Snyder Beat Sheet. A beat sheet is like your story arc, but it's for screenwriting. Game of Thrones follows a very conventional story structure as far as the screen adaptation goes, and it's wonderfully done. Especially when they had the source material to work off of. Everybody likes to talk about how George is so unconventional in the ways that this unadaptable story has been adapted. It's very, because on screen you can't adapt things in an unconventional way. You can't play with narrative like George does in book. It's a different medium. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. So I really do praise Dan and Dave upon the research I've done on the screen adaptation. I'll say that. So
Anime loving Nicole. Okay, my mind goes crazy now. Drogon falls and she falls with him, half under him, so Jon has to give her the gift of mercy, and then his sword is set aflame. Oh, that would be a crazy chain of events. That's
do you guys think that Dany is going to definitely be the one that dies, since it kind of takes the punch out of it if Jon's already, he's already been resurrected and dies again?
It's kind of like what was the point of it the first time, almost. It's like he could have, in a sense, but he's a Firewhite, so it doesn't really, I don't know. Plus, we've talked about it kind of before. There's only been, I corrected myself, actually, there's been 3 in-term and in-timeline births that we've seen in the show, and all 3 mothers have survived. So if Dany is to die, I wouldn't be too surprised if it was because of complications of childbirth or something like that. Plus, if it's Jon's story, it can't be yes, Jon could die, but it's full circle if he's the one that's alive in the end, because after hiding in the shadows, quote unquote, for so long.
There's an unbelievable amount of foreshadowing, in my opinion, for Dany dying in childbirth. As cliche as it is, she mimics Lyanna in a way that they set up the scenes right after one another. The Lyanna and Dany scenes, especially when they were talking about being in love. But she has to, yeah. Jon's death wouldn't be as impactful, and it just leave a bitter, like more than a bitter taste. It'd leave a sour, disgusting taste of bile in your mouth after you're done with this show. And it would be hard to have Dany live after all this foreshadowing. So I see her giving her life. Either she's going to give her life to give life.
Yes.
She's made mistakes like everyone in the show has, and she will have an opportunity, like everyone will in season 8, to make amends in a sense. Maybe not the way we want, but we don't always get what we want.
She's been given the greatest amount of risk, because risk and opportunity are equal in measure. She's got an opportunity to take Westeros last season. She chose to try to wage an ethical war. I mean, against Cersei Lannister, you got the moral high ground no matter what. But the point is, she chose not to burn it to the ground. Blockade aside, we won't get into it. But what does she do? But it's also an issue, in my opinion, to have Jon in the story as well. It's an issue for both of them to make it to the end, as far as I see where this story's heading. I do see their baby making it. I see Sansa on the throne, just put it short. But I see Jon doing something. The only thing I can workshop is him going back to the wall, and because he has to pass on the power. He's gotten the power through despite his bastard status, he's been elected for merit, and congratulations, now he can fight the Night King. But if you haven't, he's just not going to sit on the Iron Throne, in my opinion. I see the heir is the one that will be protected, and there'll most likely be some type of rule by Sansa or somebody else that's just workshopping it. But I have to get him out of the picture in a way that's not death. And I don't know, maybe taking the black would, because that would take away his right to the his claim. It's not the best, people. Trust me, it's not the best. I didn't say it was great.
I mean, based on the drawing inside the cave at Dragonstone
with the crayons.
With the crayons, it would seem that Jon, that there was a Night King before the one we have seen. This leads me to believe that someone may have to take his place. Do either one of y'all buy into that? If so, would Jon have to take his place? Jon is already undead. And I could see that happening, even though I don't know how much I would like. I would like it better than if Bran is the Night King, because if he is, it's just so obvious it pisses me off. They even made it look just like him. But anyways.
But that would be weird, because if that was to be a pact of ice and fire, but he's a fire white though, so it's kind of a thing. But also too with Dany, it's a lot of the third birth equals death for mothers specifically. It's like we had Joanna Lannister die during her third birth. Lyanna died from the third birth of her husband, and Dany having gone through 2 births now, as well as multiple other ones. It's the third birth of the third child, if you want to say it that way, or even though Dany has 3 dragons, they're not really a thing, unless, like we've said, Johnny, that Dany ends up having twins some way somehow.
Magical twin winged babies.
BBM says, would it be tragic if Dany knows that she's pregnant but doesn't tell Jon until the battle starts? We have to remember that it's only been about, what, in this time frame now, maybe 2 weeks since the last episode. So it's I don't think medieval time pregnancy tests were that fast acting. So yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. We have to remember that the Night King now, and this has been the biggest wrench in the whole mix here, is him coming out with that interview. He chooses to speak one freaking time in an interview, and there's a specific, now not person, but trying to kill. There's a specific kill he's going after, so I guess it could be a dragon as well. We have to think, okay, this is his goal, is to kill something. So what does that achieve for him? Reasonably, I hate it because it's the whole time travel paradox. It's Bran has already became him, blah blah blah. So the target is kill himself, blah blah blah. Terrible time. You put time travel, so now it's terrible. Sorry, I don't really enjoy that. But realistically, okay, we've seen him not kill Jon in the past. But also, there's a reason, I guess you could reason out that the reason he didn't kill Jon is because he does have green sight. I think that's pretty well established, or I think it's fair to say. It's not, an absolute, but he's able to, maybe he knew he needed a dragon. So he maybe didn't kill Jon because he knew Jon would bring, the dragon to some extent, because, he's got the same powers seemingly as Bran. So again, I'm just workshopping this, of why he would want to maybe kill Jon now when he chose not to kill him in the past, because maybe he got what he needed out of Jon, because Jon brought the dragons with the alliance with Dany. Maybe he could have foresaw. I am trying my best to workshop this anyway around anything other than Bran, because it doesn't make sense for him to kill anybody else. Melisandre, Melisandre, why do I keep mixing their names? Ugh, God. But yeah, I mean, she's not, she nobody is alive from his time. And all the children of the forest, by the way, with those beautiful cave drawings that I have my fan theory that Jon scratched those really quick before Dany came. He's like, look, and they fought together. And she's like, oh, isn't that beautiful? And it's like, yeah, why didn't they show the children of the forest making the White Walkers because they were fighting? It's like nobody ever shits on them, and they are totally responsible. And they just don't get enough grief. But the point is, like, who else is he aiming to kill? Or what else is he looking to kill? It has to be Jon, Dany, or Bran. There's really, I don't see anybody else other than it just being so random. It's like he's like, I'm going for it, just dollars at or something. Like, who's that going to really be? It's rough because, again, the Night King embodies the others as a whole for the show, because there's not a Night King in the books, but on screen you have to have a face for this, and you have to have a POV. visually, so they needed to make the Night King. That's why he was created, because it's just not really workable any other way. So their intention is the intention as a whole. Johnny, if you, I don't know if you agree with this or not. So like his intent to kill is the reason for them coming as a whole, because the Night King is just it's just different in the show, because again, the medium is now, we have to go with no internal dialogue, and it's not the same as a actual novel. So we have to have that POV visually from the Night King. So he is the embodiment of their goals. So who do they as a whole want to get rid of? I don't know. I can't think any other way other than the obvious. Bran. I don't think they're above it.
It is odd, and you have to work around and get your little string board conspiracy theory tool set out. But I almost feel like after the Night King touched Bran, he can see through Bran and is connected to Bran now. Maybe he has it in the bag that he knows he will get Jon later. Or like you said, he might not even need to get Jon. I think killing Bran could possibly kill the magic that is that keeps him cursed, so to speak. But it's really hard to say. I feel like he could have killed Bran at the cave. I feel like he let Bran go.
What are they trying to get? Are they trying to exist? It seems like they're, they are turning babies, right, Mackenzie? So like they seem to me to show motivation and desire to, with their action, to actually exist, to continue their existence. That, or they're just, they're saps for, kids in the woods. They're like, I'll take care of the kid. But I mean, realistically, what is the motivation behind this kill? What does it accomplish? Is it vendetta?
Well, you're stopping them from reproducing, in a sense, right? That's basically what Sam has done, what the Night's Watch has done. If you use the Occam Drazor approach and maybe just think evolutionary wise, they need to continue to reproduce their species or else they'll go extinct. But that goes against them being against the magic. And are we going to get some kind of context of what the children's main goal was other than extinction? Because I feel like, I don't know. It's confusing.
Their main goal in creating them?
It was to fight against the Andals and the First Men. But I don't know. Like, they made them into an apocalyptic nuclear bomb, and I guess they couldn't control it, is what we're led to believe. I feel like there's more to the story than that.
Well, they're trying to secure peace through chaos, right? Same thing. That it's an overarching theme: peace through chaos, through violence, and it bites them in the ass. But again, I honestly, if you made me put my life on the line, I'm just saying that it's Bran, and it is that time travel paradox right there. And it's essentially Bran is targeting himself to get rid of the threat and so forth. They've already detached Bran Stark from the three-eyed raven. I think it's all set up. I think that we have to keep in mind people that aren't analyzing this as we do, casual viewers, and really, I mean, I don't know. I'm going 80% it's Bran, and I'm not saying I love it, but it's just, again, they made a deal one time. How did that come about? This time they were able to destroy the wall, though, so a deal might be harder to come by.
Yeah. Plus, also, too, Bran did give Arya the cat's paw dagger, and it's like, you would use this more than I would. So it's like, you could say that was for that. Or
he gave it to kill. I like that. He gave it to kill. He gave that dagger knowing it would kill him when he's taking. Yeah.
Because it wasn't his time beforehand. But DA brings up a thought about the Night King, and obviously see the future as evident by getting the dragon. So why would he be walking to his own death? Like, why is he going south now? I kind of think it's for either Bran or for Baby Sam, because Baby Sam's the last non-turned Craster's son that's like survived into this point, pretty much, and they need another one to show up.
That's the only thing that's been withheld from them. I don't like it, but there's a lot of validity to it, because that's technically the only thing that's been taken from them is that kid, right?
Yeah. The rest of them is just kind of like, And yeah, it's hard to say.
Now, the interesting thing to note in Fire and Blood, there have been packs of Ice and Fire in the past, and it makes me with like Winterfell and Targaryens, and maybe even farther back than that. I don't know. Now, some of these never really worked out, but it leads me to believe that maybe if Dany does have a baby, that could be what they're coming for. That could be something that's key to their magic. Maybe it's just getting weird here. Maybe it's a girl. I don't know. But I do think that could be the one that replaces them. Given John is a fire white, right? And he doesn't really have a valid body, maybe.
Yeah, that isn't that though. That's you're walking a real thin line with that fire white. That has been very, very much controversial as far as interpretation of that interview, with the whole fire white thing. I think essentially I agree with you. The context of it tells us that yes, he's like just the polar opposite, but that's really not what I'm getting upon their like redacting of that statement. So I don't know. I do see maybe the fear of magic being prevalent in the world because they know that it gives power to maybe themselves and they want to control and stop destruction overall. So it's like, hey, magic is brought back in the world. We need to stop it because it does make us more powerful, but it leads to crap like this. I don't know. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Again, I'm just going with the brand. It seems like it's just really what they foreshadowed in the show, and it's unfortunate, but I don't know. We do see them lining up outside of the walls of Winterfell in the trailer, leading me to believe that we will have a battle that has, either Arya most likely is going to be utilizing her skills and trying to probably take out, Incognito, and also Jon and Dany on dragons. So we'll see a separate fight with the Night King, opposed to the battle. There's only one reason they would line up outside of those walls, and that's to maybe bring the Night King out front. We don't see him though, so they're trying to separate because it's the whole battle, the mothership, adage. It's you don't crush the mothership, you crush everything it controls. So I don't know, but I think the baby Jon, Dany, or Bran. I don't think there's any other option.
And then Clarissa brings up a good point. They were coming before baby Sam was born, but then that gets you back into, well, the Night King's a Greenseer, so maybe he's preparing for the future. But I would argue that Craster was dwindling. This was the last of the wildlings that was sacrificing to the old gods. I do have a theory. Shout out to the Knight Who Smoked the Laughing Tree, that Hardhome was a mass place where they gave sacrifices to the others. And this dwindling down of their people, of their society, has caused them to seek refuge or seek the blood that they can use to turn other whites. Because we know that there's something special about the black blood of Craster, supposedly. But maybe it just needs to be a willing sacrifice. Maybe that's the key, and we're looking at it too hard. I don't know.
Because is that prevalent in the show? Like the people that just watch the show are going to know that they took babies from Craster, but they're not going to, have any of that information. So realistically, I think it's the availability of the dragons, on the market, and they choose to make their move at this point because they can get what they need to get done. But what do they need to get done? Again, we keep talking about defeating them. How do you win a game that you don't know what you're playing for? Living versus the dead. Yes, I get that, but I mean, they're coming for a reason. They obviously, it's a whole bunch of hurry up and wait, right? A whole bunch of, oh, now we're here and we'll chill. They're chilling out. They're waiting. They're picking their moments. And with the green sight, I know they can see everything, and they can see in the past. As far as seeing in the future, I'm unclear. I don't really think they're able to see in the future for sure. That's not been established in the show at all.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they serve the crueler gods. I mean, but yeah, you have to work. You have to put work in to make it happen. So
Bran can see everything, right? So it's like, oh, now we got all the answers, but he still needs to be told where to look. Is what I like to refer to it as. It's like, he can see everything. Want to know what he sees? A whole bunch of history of people looking in the flames, trying to figure out a reason for life. You see a lot. Yes, perspective is very important in seeing the other side and getting details. But really, the only information he seems to think is, essential is to tell Jon about his parentage. That is his goal, to get that information. Other than that, nothing. We maybe we'll get some familiar, relation with the, Stark and all that. But again, just because you can see everything in history, again, yeah, hindsight's 2020. It's helpful in perspective and all that. But I mean, we keep fucking up when we look at things like World War II and all that. We've hopefully gotten better, but evolution isn't linear. You know what I mean? So I just think, I don't know. I like that saying because I made it up, is that he can see everything, but he still needs to be told where to look. Because it's like, it's not all he sees is a whole bunch of people, again, trying to figure out what the hell to do. It's not like anybody's ever got the answer to the problem, and solved all the world's issues. He's like, oh, here's a guy that figured it all out. Now I got it. Because I mean, we wouldn't be in this place, but I don't know. That's my rant on it.
Yeah, we're good at that. We're good at rants. Fandom Du Saint says Bran says he sees what is and what was. He never said he could see in the future. Now, I was rewatching. It wasn't Beyond the Wall, but it was when Bran flew the Ravens Beyond the Wall. Eastwatch, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, Johnny and I had recorded the episode for the podcast for Eastwatch, which should be out tomorrow. And we were looking at it, and there's the scene where Bran's working all of the ravens, and you see that there's a bunch of people around a circle with like a few bodies on in a white spot on the circle, and then the Night King looking up, and all the ravens just start to scatter everywhere. This is before the homeboys go beyond the wall, so it's a suggestion that he can kind of see into the future, see something. He just doesn't know that's
isn't that just current time though?
No, that was before that episode. It was the episode before.
But they're not. Are they beyond the wall? I thought, because I know the scene, because I've been cutting source video like crazy. I thought that it was just he was seeing what's currently happening.
No, because it was because the end of Eastwatch is them all going beyond the wall. So unless that scene was meant to go into the next episode, I don't know, but it was weird because it's like them seeing it, and then the Night King turns his head, and then the ravens just scatter. So it's like the fact that
but is the Night King is he north of the wall at that point? I think he's still north of the wall.
Who, the Night King?
Yeah, I took that as the current time, not the future.
Well, it already looks like Jon and the people are stuck on the island. Like at first I did think it was the Night King and his horses, but if you look, it just looks like a group of something and you can't necessarily tell. And then
oh, well, that's interesting. We need to go and screenshot that.
Yeah, I gotta go look at it again. But do you think Bran's set up to die too, right? In my opinion, he's kind of dead already. Bran's set up to die too, right? Yeah, like you said, already dead. And what do you see the ending for? Is that, I know we've touched on, is that who the Night King's going to kill? The theory about Arya killing Bran or having to is a pretty good theory. What else could he do here? Do you think we're going to get a little more context as to what his powers are? Or are we just going to get some crazy flashes? Or not even that, just him telling them what to do? In general, what the hell you think Bran's going to do?
Oh, yeah. I'm always not polite, so I was trying to be polite. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think that we are going to see Bran is already dead. Bran is desensitized because I love the way in which we have Bran become a powerful god, right? We like to say, ooh, I want to be so powerful, I want to become a god. Well, a god, essentially, if you look at the definition of it, like this unworldly being with these powers to see everything and anything, is now desensitized, lost his sense of self, and it's a monster. You're a monster. It is not, oh, now I'm OP, I got all this power, you know what I mean? I'm Superman now. No, gods look like monsters. They're, it's monstrous to see what he sees. He Dolores Ed, right away. He's like, you were, at Hardhome, blah blah blah, and you saw the Night King. I mean, he with Sansa, he's dead in the eyes, saying, weirdly, because I guess fuck you, Sansa, on anything, but it is, it's showcasing that he is aware of everything horrible that happened to everybody. He can experience it, but he's dead in the eyes. It's not that he hates Sansa or thinks it's just he's dead inside because he's desensitized. I mean, they talk about the internet desensitizing you. I mean, he is the internet, and you know, Sam is just going to be typing on him essentially. So I mean, he can see anything. So he's lost his sense of self, and he's already gone. So he is you know, I just feel he gives perspective, because that's something that this story does. You know, Jaime Lannister, in my opinion, doesn't change all that much. You just start to see things from his eyes. He does have change. I'm not saying he doesn't have growth, but it's not as much as people attribute. Usually they're like, oh man, he had a total, you know, 180 turn. It's like, no, you started seeing things from his point of view. So it's powerful. But yeah, he's essentially a narrative, a tool for the narrative in this sense. I can't see him. He's not going to live on. I don't know. Maybe he'll go beyond the wall again.
Dead end question, I guess. I apologize for that one. No,
I got it. Hold on. So, if you go like this. So, this is Bran's vision beyond the wall, right? So, there's all of the whites, and then a small group of men on top of the rock, because then you go playing, and then him looking at the ravens, and those are all the ravens.
Oh shit, that does look, yeah, that does.
Let's go back just a second. Yeah, because they're all like on top of the mountain. So
doesn't look like horses, but it could be a trick of the eye too. I don't know.
It's interesting. Yeah, I wasn't trying to, you know, like because that's something I've been wondering. Can they see in the future? So if there's proof of that, like that's huge for me. So I wasn't trying to be a contrarian. I always just took that as it was the current, you know, like he was currently seeing the progress of them, which has, you know, they picked up their pace. They're like, let's walk more than 1 mile a year, you know, for right now.
Yeah, walk really slow, and then when you get close to the wall, start running. But yeah, we picked, because I was like, that's really weird, because this happens in the...
It's always a chance Dan and Dave just thought it'd be funny. There's always that problem.
Maybe, but there's also the possibility of just like, because then how did the Night King know that Dany was going to come with dragons besides the green site?
And we also have the vision of King's Landing with the dragons flying over it as well that Bran has saw. I think there's hints that he will be able to see the future, and his powers will unfold exponentially in season 8. I hope, because the scope of what he's went through needs to have a little better payoff, in my opinion, than him just being a Siri device. Basically, that's all he is at this point.
Siri, look up Night King. Looking up Night Queen porn. No, yeah. Interesting though. I mean, if he can, the problem with time travel is if he can go back in time, and then he returns to the present, then he can see the future, right? Because he's went back. I mean, that's again, people. That's the problem with time travel. When you inject that into your narrative, it makes literally anything possible, which eliminates stakes. But I was thinking about stakes as far as the Battle of Winterfell. Do you guys think that we will have a high loss of life? I do believe they will kill off a major fan favorite right away to show you that it is going down.
Oh, we're going to have 4 or 5 fan favorite deaths in the Battle of Winterfell. I don't think we're going to get if we do get a death in the first episode, I think it's going to be off scene based on how they're setting it up and the rating for it and stuff.
Yeah, because the first episode's 81 minutes long, I believe, and there's no mature content or adult content rating on it. It's like I think it's like PG-13 or whatever.
Lame.
So yeah, so that really solidifies the supposed idea that it's just basically a callback episode, close enough to the pilot episode. Minus the incestuous sex, probably.
Well, hopefully not. Let's not be negative. But yeah, that's, you know, exactly what conventional screenwriting will tell you to do in this final season is do exactly, Mackenzie, what you said, is mirror the theme that's established in the first episode. So yes, in Wintertown will be shown, because just like Arya on her journey back, you know, to Winterfell, she starts to see that, hey, guess what? Even the soldiers in the Lannister army are just soldiers. Because again, George is interested in why people follow. not really, he's not as he's anti-wars that aren't just. He does believe there are just wars. He wants to know why people follow against their interests. So we're going to see it's like The Walking Dead, but slightly better. People are about to get dead. They're about to get done. So we're going to get to know them a little bit. Somebody's going to talk about their rabbit stew or something. And we're going to get to know the people because that is who we're supposed to be thinking about, what's best for them. And, I guess the car hold and all that will probably be taken by episode 2. Do you guys think we'll see that?
Well, I think everybody's in Winterfell at this point. I don't think anybody's went home. So it's unless it's random car hold servant number 5 that gets wiped out.
Well, they can use the POV of the Night King, though.
Yeah. We'll see the decimation. Yeah, the decimation
Don't be a dick, Johnny. Yeah, that's true.
But it wouldn't be because there's barely anybody left in other castles besides Winterfell. Everybody's there. So
the people though, the commoners are. I mean, the Vale forgot that they're not in the north, so they accidentally illegally voted. But the car hold, the population, it's sparse in the north, but Wintertown is going to be populated, and just because the Karstarks in their forces are there doesn't mean that there's not people in the surrounding villages, I guess. But I think that we're definitely going to see the destruction at hand. They're going to showcase that, especially if this was posed as 3 movies. That's how they suggested they actually wanted to release them as motion pictures. So this has to have some action. It has to be primarily on the arc of the love relationship with Jon and Dany, the struggle within with Sansa, and how to do things. Again, a debate about how to rule the best, and then probably a little bit. I mean, you have to have some action, right?
Yeah, there's with Ned Umber and Alice Karstark. I feel like Alice Karstark is in the Crypts of Winterfell beside Sam Gilly, because I don't think because it's either Alice Karstark or Sansa that's right sitting beside Gilly and baby Sam. And because it's blurred out because you only see Varys. So because there's that whole thing that happened when they were filming season 6, the actress who played Alice Karstark was mistaken for being Sansa's stunt actress for whatever stunt she was.
Yeah, we saw her getting out of the trailer.
So there could be something with that and her, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
I hope they don't go pulling some swapping unless Sansa fakes her death to get closer to Cersei. I don't know, but Miss Carnell has a good comment about Dany. In the first episode, I've been thinking this as well. Great minds think alike. If Dany's pregnant, will Jon send her away for her protection?
Tyrion definitely will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tyrion, is focused solely on that last season. It's always, you're too important. Jon, I would imagine, would too. I'm not saying that he doesn't care, but I'm saying that Tyrion definitely has a vested interest and concern about this. Because
then that would mirror the tower, especially if she's sent back to Dragonstone, for sake of argument, then that totally mirrors a Tower of Joy-esque type of situation. Yeah, I could see that kind of a whole mirror, the cycle starting over again. Jon either having to die in battle, or he makes it and sees that Dany has died or whatever. There's that whole cyclical thing, and people are saying that Jorah may die in the 3rd episode, which that would be interesting.
Jorah can't lift that sword. Can't lift Heartsbane anyway. That's gonna kill him. He can't even lift it above his head. He's gonna die quickly. No.
Stop shaming him. I'll tell you who dies right away. Tell you who you kill. You kill Brienne. First major death. No, I'm serious. You kill Brienne. That's who I would kill. Brienne has by default fulfilled her oath, right? Arya comes back last season and what's his name? Good at sex. Podrick. He says, congratulations on fulfilling your, he's like, Lady Stark would be, proud.
You kept
your oath, and it's by default she's here now. But no, I think it's beautiful arc. But what I'm saying is Brienne dies. Jaime will, because Brienne in the aftermath is not as interesting as Jaime in the aftermath. Jaime in the aftermath has the conflict of interest when it comes to Cersei and having to go against that, a direct head to head on that. Brienne, it comes down to placing these characters in situations that have the most amount of conflict to get, because action tells who they are, and all the talk they do about honor and all that means nothing until we see their backs against the wall. So you want to get your characters with their backs against the wall. Jamie will have his back even more against the wall. Brienne is dead because he also has that oath to Catelyn, right, to protect the Stark daughters. So you get rid of Brienne because right away that's a fan favorite. She goes out like a warrior, and the stakes are present, that people are going down. Tormund, I think there's the possibility. I mean, he should be dead technically on the wall anyways, but he won't be. But I think you got to kill somebody big. Somebody that people thought had a role to play in the end game.
Yeah, who had plot armor just because of who their stance was still, yeah.
Well, but who do you want to see in the aftermath, Brienne or Jamie?
If you kill Brienne, you got to put Tormund out of his misery. That's that's going to be the biggest tragedy right there.
Get
watching Tormund. Yeah. He likes to have sex with bears, but this is the first woman that has really intrigued the man. He talks about it all the time, but I haven't seen him with a woman yet. He says he likes dick, according to what he told the Hound. So we'll see what happens in season 8.
We got a comment from Sazek. F you, Justin. Brienne can't be the first. I know, but that's my point. See the reaction we're already getting? That's why I would make that happen. Because you put her in the deathbed and you put Jamie with his back against the wall to contend with Cersei. It's far more compelling story when Jamie is present in the aftermath than it is if Brienne is present.
Yeah.
Brienne doesn't like Cersei.
Well, they could do that whole thing that's in the books that Alice is married to, who is it again? Alice Karstark married to not the Magnar of the Thanes, but like something of the Thanes, if I remember correctly. So they could try and swing that in there and have.
I feel bad for that Thanes.
Yeah, it's something like that. So they could do it where it's like that sort of thing, but Tormund probably wouldn't go for that. So it's like it's hard to say. But
well, I don't know, Johnny. Do you think? I mean, who's your? I mean, I think that Tormund, Beric. I think that killing somebody like Beric eliminates.
Podrick's gonna die.
Yeah.
He hasn't really developed. He's been practicing fighting so much, but hasn't gotten as good as you think he would. In the books and in the show, he showed promise, right? You think he would somewhat have some coordination. He's that good in bed. It has to translate slightly. He could at least be mediocre at fighting, but I think he's set up to die as well, and maybe even save Brienne, because I think Brienne's going to get permanently scarred, and even more so than Jamie, because in the book she gets her face eaten off by Biter. It's pretty horrible, and it's going to change her forever. We've seen her being molded into, punched in the face and saying, there's no such thing as a true knight. There's only true people, and we might get a little more there. I think Brienne will survive, but it's literally going to be by the hair on her chin.
Oh, that's a lot of hair. But I think Jamie being saved by Brienne is a nice payback as well, for what he did. I just always had to think in the way of because Podrick living or dying really doesn't change the actual landscape as far as like what's going on with like the overall picture. It really doesn't. It's not like Podrick's going to be like the Secretary of State or like have some like social reform. I'm just saying it's nice if Podrick's there. It's nice if Tormund's there. Tormund more so because he's a representative of the free folk, and that so there's more of a reason to keep him around. Meaning like Brienne is somebody that people keep in mind for like what the aftermath, in my opinion, is as a character. They think Brienne will be present and protect the people and be the noble knight, right? You take her out of the picture, it does, that's what they do. Like Robb Stark was supposed to, continue on and take Castle Rock, and then you take him out of the picture. It's impactful. It just puts everybody's backs against the wall. So I think Brienne going down, because Brienne is just not really she has no conflict after that, in my opinion. That's it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sasa? Actually, we can kind of get to if there was something Sasa that you would lock. Well, I don't even know about lock. What's your favorite theory that you hope to see happen in season 8? I think that's a good way to put it.
Well, there's so many that are pretty good, and there's so much of the potential that can happen. It's hard to say, but I kind of really kind of like the idea that the women that is not Daenerys in his life just kind of being like, what are you doing? Especially like Lyanna when she shows up and it's like, I did all this work. I roused all of these older people just to say that you're the king, and now you decide you want to not do it anymore. That the first chance you get, you kind of give up, and that Lyanna just kind of goes, well, I'm on your side now with, like, say, Sansa or Arya. It's like, well, I'll back you, even though you're a lady. You're a queen, and you'll be my queen, kind of thing. It's like that whole, just Lyanna just being like, you're an idiot, and because you're an idiot, I'm not going to be nice to you anymore.
She's the worst.
Yeah.
She's the worst.
Just
don't tell me what I can do. You know, she is just bitching up a storm. She is just public. Dan and Dave were like, everybody loved her. Let's just hammer that in. How is that woman still alive? That girl. I mean, she is just really obnoxious at this point. Sorry.
They should kill off a 12-year-old girl. They already did that with Shireen. I don't think they got enough kickback for killing Shireen. I don't think they would do that again.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying she might deserve it. That's my unpopular opinion. My thought process is we have a situation where it is the heir, it is the baby. The only thing that makes sense is that because, like Mackenzie just said, it's hard to like have like, oh, we'll put this person. They can't willy-nilly put somebody on the throne, you know, like we're not going to see social reform and the feudal landscape totally just switched overnight. I have a video that talks about how theoretically it would go, like according to like how history is, this would act as the plague, and we see that, you know, the commoners the middle class will emerge, and just by just the very fact of all the lords are dying out, so you're having the feudalistic system break down. But in all reality, for the show, you're not going to like, you know, they're not going to be like, oh, let's have a democratic or monarchy or anything, you know what I mean? Like and again, they're not going to jump to like, oh, let's be a democracy, because that's like inciting that we have it figured out in a, you know, are saying like, let's go and do what England does, and they got Brexit going on, so nobody's got it hammered down yet. So I like the idea of like the placeholder. It would make more sense if they have the heir from Jon and Dany, and because that's more legitimate for like Sansa to be like the person that's acting as Lord Protector almost, you know, like it would just be more believable. My crackpot theory is that, again, Jaime Lannister becomes the hand holds it for Sansa when Jon Snow walks up to Jaime. He asks, you know, like he goes, "Don't worry, Stark. I'm just holding it," just like Jaime did with Ned when he walked in after killing the Mad King. And he gets up and he lets Robert have the throne, but instead he gets up and lets Sansa have the throne. So I think Sansa's the one that's shown, and it's really showcased quite poorly, because she is right, but she should know the nuances of the court in season 6 or 7, because like she was able to just put on a show in King's Landing nonstop, but then she, you know, goes against Jon a bunch of times in front of everybody, and it's like she's right, but it's like the wrong time to be right. Sansa, like she should know the nuances and the subtle dance far better than Jon, so she would know. Like they do a huge disservice to Sansa in order to have that fake conflict with Arya. Sansa is shown to, you know, be thinking about the big picture, but she comes off as stupid, because even the music ties into this. Like when Jon makes his decision to keep like the Karstarks and the Umbers, you know, blah, 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 in power, not punish them for their ancestors' sins, you have Sansa look like she's just a bitch. But in reality, you know, like she's bringing up valid points. She's bringing up, let's reward merit, not blood right, not birthright. And but she's doing it in such an obnoxious way that she obviously was able to just maintain that she loved Joffrey for all that time. I mean, she's a woman that knows how to do that. She could dance circles around Jon. So she's, if you don't have her serve the purpose of the realm, the betterment, and the end of this, then what the hell was that for? Honestly.
I think there was a scene that was cut out for episode 2. That was the two of them talking in his office, and it's basically another version of what the scene was between Arya, Bran, and Sansa.
Yeah, they cut it.
Yeah, they cut it. That's why she's like yelling at him. It's to make the look like there's the discourse between the two, like Jon and Sansa, and then eventually later it's the discourse between Jon and Sansa and Arya. Sorry, that's why they just did that, and it's for dramatic effect, and to make people hate Sansa even more in season.
Yeah, it doesn't serve. You know what I mean? It's a disservice to the character, and it's withholding information for the sake of withholding. It was a poor choice to cut that, and they kept the Grey Worm Missandei
For 5 minutes, 5, 6 minutes.
Yeah, they said, "Oh, well, let's have a woman that has something other than physical strength." Missandei is a good example of an intelligent woman. Oh, let's objectify her too, when it's literally actually impossible to do. But let's put her in a sex scene anyways, even though it's actually impossible to happen.
We
So,
see
yeah.
why they set that up, though, right? The Battle of Winterfell. You know, Grey Worm's in the vanguard, and Peter Griffin made a good point, thinking that Missandei may die before Grey Worm, and Grey Worm's out there like the Battle of the Bastards, just slaying folks until he gets killed. I think that would be a very fitting way for Grey Worm to go out. Now, Missandei, it's hard to say with her. She could go either way, but I could see it being very impactful. If she lived, I think she will have a place. My thing is, if there is a baby, everyone thinks Davos is going to take care of it. Everyone thinks Sansa is going to take care of it. I would put up that Sam and Gilly will take care of that baby. They are already prepared for it, and they have a little brother on the way and in tow. And another little tinfoil thing that I'm saying is going to happen. We're going to have Clegane Bowl. The mountain is what?
No, I'm sorry.
Hey, fuck off.
I need to mute. I'll mute myself. I'm sorry.
the mountain, and Sandor Clegane are gonna fight. Sandor Clegane is gonna end up almost losing and then be saved by Dragonfire. Is going to take out Clegane. So going cheesy, bro. I don't think it'll be a one-on-one. I do think Sandor plus someone else is going to have to fight Sir Robert Strong, because you got to be realistic. The Hound will get the floor wiped with his ass. He's got a bad knee and everything against an undead monster. So I see him being saved at the end, and I'll just make a roll. Like I said, Dragonfire, bold prediction.
I'm not against fan service. Hashtag Arya shit. I think Arya is a terrible depiction of the empowerment of the women in this society. She is somebody that murders her way through her problems, and she embodies everything that is, not in line with the themes of the actual show, and is rewarded with it. But also, I love watching hashtag Arya shit. I love watching her cut with a sword that only stabs. I love watching her fight, I love watching her do all this. I'm not against it, but like when I talk on streams and my videos, I'm analyzing the story. So I have to say Arya is a fucking hot mess as far as it goes with like the actual themes and what they're doing, but also it's fan service and it's fine. It's like, there's that argument. It's like, because they're rewarding behavior in things that are going against the general message of the story. So like, where's that line? I think people get the idea of, they're like, oh, that guy hates Arya. Like I hate Arya in the sense of people thinking that she should be rewarded. It's like, oh, like Sansa needs to die. Everybody's fed up with Sansa because they just took a shit with her arc. But Sansa is the one that has gotten the abilities to stop blood feuds. I mean, Arya is killing her way through life, and she's eventually going to run out of people to kill. How's she going to be happy? I don't know. I just, but I love it. I'm not saying, guys, when it's on screen, I'm smiling like an idiot because it's fun.
It's hard to think about what her character would do next without her list.
Yes.
Really, that's the one question. It's like, what is she going to do once everyone on her list is either dead or she's killed them?
And she has to have some kind of consequence for using the sacred magic.
No,
right?
No. She's strong because only strength is physical. There's no intelligence. Fuck you, Sansa. All that wit, no, fuck that. Brienne, you got to be strong. If you want to be just as good as men, do what men do. That's a disservice to women. That's not. I am not a feminist, because I don't know all of what that entails, but I feel like empowerment for females should be utilizing how they are so much better than men in so many ways. Not saying I can lift heavy stuff too, like Leanna Mormont. She's like, thank you, Lord Glover, or whatever. She's like, I'm gonna have all my people do this as well. And then Sansa brings up valid points, and they play like wah 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 like music, and then have Jon all glorious. It's Dan and Dave just like totally reward the shit out of Arya for being a murderous, like horrible person. Leanna Mormont for just being a really a mouthy little like out of line. She's a child, so I'm gonna say brat, but I mean bitch. And you know, like I wouldn't be putting up with that. Manderly too. Like they make Manderly not swear to the, you know, she's the one that North remembers. It's like in the books that motherfucker's baking pies. So get her, you know, I mean, it's all great and good to say you don't need to tell me that I can have my girls learn how to use spears too. It's like that's fine, Liana. That's fine. You can go ahead and do that. But let's also take into consideration that intelligence and actual like emotional strengths are important as well, because you don't prove you're better than men by doing what men do. That's a disservice again. But Dan and Dave are just, you know, I mean, look at all these strong females.
Yeah,
they're literally fucking strong. It's like physical strength. That's the way to go, baby.
They've simplified them to your point. And I'll try to move on a little bit. The chat's blowing up. That's hilarious.
I know I'm saying things about people. Are they saying bad things? I'm just saying if Lyanna Mormont died, I'd be happy. That's it.
No, it's perfect sense. Miss Cronall, you're going to get the last question of the day. And I think it's a good question because you know, most people will say no and no. Okay, so will dragons and or direwolves survive the season? No on the direwolves. Well, maybe on the direwolves. There's only 2 left, to be fair, that we know of. The dragons as well. I do think Drogon's going to live. He will wither away, but he will be mortally wounded like Sunfire. Aegon II's Sunfire was in the Dance of Dragons. His wing was broken. Sunfire couldn't really fly anymore, and when he did, it was really hobbled. I think Jon and Drogon will kind of both be irreparably, they can't be repaired after this. That's my general thoughts. I do think we'll have the survival of one dragon because I don't think all of magic is going to die. There has to be so many things that happen. You have to burn every weirwood. You have to go to Essos and kill all the shade of the evening tree. I just don't think that's going to happen. So it's going to be devastating. But I do see possibly Drogon living, just like Balerion the Black Dread, because he is the Black Dread come again.
Yeah. And there's Aegon and Balerion, the Black Dread. Like, that's poetic as heck. A lot of people want the super PAC. The super PAC will show up, and pretty much all of them will die. I'm sorry. If we get the super PAC, it's not that the super PAC is gonna live. If any of the direwolves have to live, they'd probably give Ghost the opportunity to live, but I can totally see them killing him off in the battle for Winterfell. But yeah, I feel like the man will have a dragon and have a direwolf, and then thus everything will come again. Super PAC's not gonna make it either in the show, or they're gonna show up and they're gonna die.
I think in the books we're going to have a crossbreed dire wolf that ends up surviving. This goes to Narmi.
It'd be even funnier. It's like a half dire wolf, half dragon, like the
I'm trying
donkey.
to think of the name right now. Yeah,
the donkey and the dragon in Shrek. Like, there's so many motifs.
But
Shrek.
No, that's not happening. Well, maybe I wouldn't put it
like a
past
turducken, like a turducken. Yeah. Well, the direwolves, I did a whole video that I trashed last year where I investigated exactly like how much money it costs, like to do the CGI, because it's always like, well, we had the dragons in this Battle for Marine, so we couldn't have the direwolves. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, what the? You got a huge budget? Are you serious? And I do production work and all that. I'm like, I let me see what this takes, and it's the last rendering of their actual texture. When you see Jon outside, when Jon is dead. Technically still in season 6. Yeah, 6. Before he gets when Ghost is out there yelping, take a look at that footage. It's him it's Ghost without the final render on his texture, and he looks like a police, like it's all blurred out because it's really hard. It's really expensive for them to do. But yeah, I the thing is, I take into consideration that George wasn't going to have dragons in this story. When he first wrote it, in the very last moment he put him in. So I have to consider how vital they will be in the end game. I obviously George is capable of changing his mind about things and has made them very important in some aspects. But yeah, I see Drogon living. The direwolves, just like Nymeria, because Nymeria saw Arya, but just as Arya has strayed from the pack and went on her own way after they separated, she recognized her and then she left, but they're no longer the same people. They've seen what they've become. Both have become leaders, and vicious, and not necessarily leaders, but you know what I mean. They both become formidable foes, and a classic example of female empowerment from Arya. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see Ghost going anywhere. I just hope he shows up. Hope he doesn't ghost it. So I think that the dragons, we might see Rhaegal die. I don't know. Do you guys think we're going to get another death during do you think we're actually going to get a Dance of the Dragons type deal
We'll
with the
probably
combat?
do that over Winterfell.
They did it every season. We've got the Field of Fire 2.0. We got I'm trying to think of the other stuff. We got a few other things involving dragons. I think they'll give us that. That's some fan service that I'm okay with. I do want to see a 2-on-1 dragon fight.
That'd be the right time for Bran the Warg, the other dragon. Well, can he warg the ice dragon? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, he's got to be able to warg something. He can warg a human. You would think he would be able to do something of that. That's what I really don't like about season 7, Bran, because he's just flatlined. No pun intended, but he's flatlined.
It's the idea that I forget where it was, but either Rhaegal or Drogon was going to burn Viserion's face off, kind of like how Viserys dies in real life in the show. So then, does that mean that someone goes and just stabs Rhaegal? Like, is there like a bolt or something that takes out?
Yeah, but we have to consider
that.
We have to consider that Jaime is. I mean, first off, the whole Scorpion, the whole crossbow bullshit. That's like Qyburn wasn't the first. I mean, that's how when Aegon conquered in Dorne, like right away. I don't know why that's a shock. He's like, if they can be, he deducts it like this. He's like, if they could be wounded, they could be killed. I'm like, oh, great deduction there. You're so fucking brilliant. Like, of course they can be killed. They've been killed by the same way. Like the ballistas should be there. I think that we'll see dragon glass ballistas on the Scorpion, which will be hard for Dany to stomach probably. But you probably want to take her. I think we'll see some combat for sure, because it makes sense that we'll see again the separation of the battle, and that's a long ass battle. It's the longest cinematic battle in history up to this point for episode 3. So like it's gonna go down. It's definitely gonna go down. So you'd have to think that everybody's gonna utilize the skills. That's what happens. You learn from everything that they've been through, and everybody's going to try to use those tactics. Arya will try to be a faceless man, probably, and try to do some sneaky stuff, and try to get behind lines. I don't see Arya in like the formation. You know what I mean? Like that's not her skill set. She's going to try to go behind the lines. Jon is going to try to, man up and do a boss battle. Dany, the same thing. People are going to utilize what they've learned. They're going to go about things according to what they have, experienced so far. Jon will probably fall off his dragon and have a Battle of the Bastards moment again with his sword up and hope the Veil comes and wins it for him. But you know what I mean? Like everybody's going to use their skill set. Hopefully Sansa will probably be dealing with the Golden Company, which is getting a ride in from Euron Greyjoy, who left the party all sneaky. He's like, oh, I'm going home. Everybody's like, nobody asked. He's like, guess what? I'm going home, guys. I'm like, yeah, just go. He's like, but I'm going home. Like, I believe you. I'm starting not to now. He's like, but like, you picking up the Golden Company? Go ahead. Yeah.
Well,
you think the Golden Company will fight?
Sure.
Yeah, I do. I will say this to y'all's point though, with the ballistas and the dragon glass. Right, you're right. Meraxes was downed at the Hellholt in 10 AC. This is like hundreds of years ago. So it's Qyburn. He's trying to. That shows you how unlearned Cersei is. Right, she doesn't read that much. I know Sam and Gilly have seen that. But to your point, Kenzie, they could be trying to hit White Viserion, and he gets hit by one of those dragon glass scorpion bolts Rhaegal does. and that's how Rhaegal dies. I could see one of the dragons accidentally getting hit. That would suck ass, but whatever.
Peter Oh, did you see Peter Griffin's last comment in the chat?
Rhaegal has to drop at least one egg. So yeah, I'm very confused with it too. No. Dragons are asexual, or dragons. There's a she dragon and there's male dragons. It just depends on which text you're reading, or if you believe everything that Boss says or not. Ugh.
Yeah, we don't adhere to the gender constructs of modern day society. Okay, but do you think Drogon will get stabbed in a stupid fight and then drink and not use any medication and die, just like Drogon did?
Of course.
Same fate. He's fated to be an idiot. How'd he die? He was an idiot.
But that could be like the whole Rhaegal and the egg somewhere. It's like then that's really like Jon or Rhaegar leaving Jon somewhere and being like that whole trope thing again, I guess. But
well, do they use the dragon to maintain power after? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's how do they play in? I guess they go free range with them.
I feel like Jon will retire. He will go away. I think they'll force him to want to rule.
Watch, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about the Knights. They haven't set up many places he could go. My friend John St. Baptiste thinks he's going to go back to the cave, which, him and Drogon in there would be some sexy times.
There was that.
That's beautiful.
I think I saw a piece today somewhere. I just saw it when I was like looking up the thing. And it was that Kit Harington said that he wanted to go after season 6, that he wanted to go to Old Town and to meet a lady and then have kids there. So I was like, what? That was like his like tinfoil thing for like Jon Snow's character after season 6. Like that's where he wanted to go.
Makes sense. That's sensible. I'm with him. You know what I mean? Nice town. Good. But he was disgusted by King's Landing when he asked how many people live. He said, "How do they live like that?" I'm like, "Don't shame urbanization, you piece of crap." But yeah, it's tough to say. Yeah, I've been trying to workshop where Jon goes, and it's like I guess he goes back. It's tough. You got to have people that turn down power. You can't just be left with one person that's the only person to choose. It has to have conflict. So there has to be remaining members of the hierarchy that have both the merit and the birthright to some extent to rule. So Jon has to maybe go join the Watch. He's like, I'll just get stabbed again and get out of it.
Yeah, I think if Dany does die in pregnancy, it will be near the end of the show, leaving us on a semi cliffhanger. I think that would be the best way to do it instead of making us, because I feel like it would be hard to convey how Jon's feeling at the time, along with having these two huge wars, unless they did it late. But with that, I think we'll kind of wrap up. We've been going nuts here, and we've had an awesome chat today. It's been a fantastic stream. We'll be talking soon again. But, Justin, where the hell can they find you at? Do you do stuff anymore? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I do stuff. Follow me on MapQuest. Yeah, no, I got a few videos that I just scrapped, and one should be out today. No, I've been really excited. You can kind of see some of the ideas that I've had because I've kind of spewed them out here. But no, I've been really excited, and I have a lot of faith in this final season. I would really, really stress that we should, be content with the ambiguous ending that we most likely will get. This is a story that, we've seen that things go on after these characters die. Like Robb Stark, the story goes on. So we have to just be left in a place in the story where we have a general idea that something decent is going to happen as far as progress. As far as you guys getting answer, we as a whole getting answers for specific things, I feel that the only other thing they got to give us motivation for the Night King if he's specifically going for somebody, because that's just bad writing. But besides that, I really don't see a whole lot of like huge like revelations about what's going on. I really think that if you're expecting answers, please reconsider, and hedge your expectations a little bit. And ambiguous is good, right? It's better in the end. You can't just give a matter of fact answer for things. It turns out to actually be worse. So it's always rough. It's always rough, especially when it's such a beloved series. So it's going to be really difficult for them to do. I hope they do a good job. Check out my channel. We'll be doing The Other Side of the Throne on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Johnny and Mackenzie will be on, as well as W. Axel Foley from Podcast Winterfell for the first episode, live stream 8 o'clock Eastern Monday, every Monday after the latest episode. So we'll be talking about it, and I might do a Ramblecast, a podcast right after that I'll release about my initial thoughts on every episode. But 6 episodes and done. So, let's hope that they leave us, but not leave us with a whole bunch of disappointment. And thanks for having me on, Johnny.
Thank you, my man, for coming on. Definitely go check out Top Shelf Fandom stuff. It is top shelf, honestly. And MackenzieLBurns, where can we find you at? Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem, Johnny, at all. It was fun to kind of get us all together before Sunday happens. You can find me on my channel around 5:30. Will be the premiere of 702 Stormborn, where me, AK, and Fandom Saint talk about that crazy episode. There's some laughs in it. It's a pretty good one. Because I only have about 2 more to post, and then we are caught up, because on Sunday around lunchtime we will be talking about 7-7, the Dragon and the Wolf, to give us enough time before the show starts and any other pre-shows start before season 8 starts. And yes, I'll be on Silent John's later today along with Johnny, and every Wednesday at around 8:30 on my channel, we'll be talking about all the new episodes with new people, old people, and always ones that are always here. So yeah.
I do want to mention really quick, congratulations on surpassing 700 subscribers. Let's get Johnny to 1K. I want Johnny at 1K by the first episode, and I'm not asking. I'm saying I want.
It's a demand.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is. It's very clear.
The Twitter son is demand.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I mean, it's not a joke. Like, get him there. I don't care how you do it. Get him there. In Mackenzie's channel as well. I want her over 500 in the next few days, and then hit 1K by the second episode. So I will talk to you after you achieve those goals. But congratulations to both of you guys. I've, I know you're my Twitter family, but I always enjoy speaking with you, and you guys have been grinding it out. I mean, I turn on YouTube, and I turn on YouTube. You don't turn on YouTube. I put YouTube on, and I definitely always see you guys out there talking Thrones, and I really appreciate it. So the new generation's coming up, and I like you kids. You're doing all right.
Well, thank you, sir. That is very ironic, given you are my son. So we'll go with that. Thank you so much, everyone in the chat. Be sure to check me out Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Nooners of Thrones, and I'll be doing one every Friday as well. Hey, if you're working, sneak in those earplugs, just like Clarissa Thompson's doing. So y'all have a good one. I'll be on Secrets of the Citadel right after the premiere episode of Game of Thrones, so definitely go check that out. With that, we'll see you on the next Nooners of Ice and Fire.